All right, hey guys, welcome back to the Psychic Sherry YouTube channel. We're here again talking to Sherry Klein. Hey, Sherry.
Hey.
We're going to discuss topics that related to supernatural and spirit world. Today, we're going to talk about tarot cards. Uh, I know Sherry doesn't use tarot cards. Sherry, I know you used to,
hmm
but you don't anymore. Every time I pull up the internet, I see a lot of people that use the tarot cards, but
Yeah.
you're the exception to the rule. And you had a little experience that, how about you share with the viewers on your tarot card experience?
Okay. This might be a lengthy story, and not to put down anybody who uses tarot cards. Go right ahead. You do you, and I do me, because I won't touch them again. So I had studied tarot. I did them for years, and I was good. I loved it. It was like my crutch.
Mm,
So I used to do in person parties. There'd be anywhere from 5 to 15 people there. At every single party, there would be one person that would say, "Aren't you scared you're going to go to hell for
really?
doing the tarot cards?" Yeah. And I'm like,
Wow.
no, no. And then it started weirding me out because that happened at every party. So I asked God when I'm praying, and I said, "Lord, if you don't want me to use these tarot cards, let me know. I don't want to go against your will." And and then I'd have conversations with God. So I own a cleaning business. I was coming out of one of my houses, loading up my stuff, and so like right here, I'm loading my taking my vacuum and stuff, putting it in the car. And to this side of me, a lady comes running out. This is her backyard. She comes out her back door, and she's like, "Hey, lady, cleaning lady, I need you. I need you to come with me." And I'm like, "Okay." But in my mind, I'm like, "Why am I going? I don't have any openings."
You're very naive. And just
Yeah.
a
You know,
stranger, just follow them.
I have people that come stop me all the time. I'm like, "No, I don't have any openings," or "I do." But I knew I didn't have any openings. All the way walking to her house, I'm telling myself, "Why am I doing this? I'm just wasting everybody's time." So we get in the house. She shows me through the house, and we go into the kitchen. And in the kitchen is this young girl in her 20s staring out the window doing dishes. And she introduced her as her daughter, and, hi. And then there was this lady, elderly lady, sitting at the table looking out the window. Introduced her as her mother. Well, when she turned around and looked at me, her eyes, she looked like she had been in a trance for like 8 hours. You could just tell like she wasn't there.
Her mother. This was her
Yeah,
mother.
the one, yeah.
Okay.
And so she just kind of waved and then turned back around and stared out the window. So I'm talking to this lady, and she goes, "Okay, well, I'll see you Monday," because that's when I was going to come. And I said, "But wait a minute, I didn't even tell you a price." And she goes, "Oh, yeah, yeah. How much are you going to charge?" And I'm like, "This is weird." And so we continued, and then she handed me her card, and she said, and it said her name, and she said, "I'm an evangelist." And I thought, "Oh, watch this." And I don't know why, as I'm doing this, I'm talking to myself, like, "Why am I doing this?" I hand her my card that says Psychic Sherry.
Really?
Well, that opened up Pandora's box because she started flipping out and like crying and said, "I knew God wanted us to be here. Now I know." She said they came
Mm.
from the state over. So they came from Ohio, and the two, her daughter and her mother, were hungry and wanted to stop for lunch. And she kept saying, "No, God is telling me we have to hurry. We can't stop." And she said, "When I saw you out the back window, I knew you're the one I had to talk to."
Mm.
So getting back to, we're in the kitchen. She starts praying and, "Oh Lord, help her." The lady never quit doing dishes, and the other old lady never quit staring out the window. This lady's screaming and crying in my ear. And I was just
Really?
like, "This is getting weird." And then she goes, "You've been asking for this. Now I'm telling you. quit using the tarot cards. And I'm like, what? And
Who
and
was it? The old lady that said this?
no, no.
The
It
younger
was the
lady?
lady that walked me through the house, wanted me to clean her
Oh.
house.
Oh, okay. All right.
The one that's screaming and crying in my
Yeah.
ear. And she said, so in other words, she was like trancing in God or Jesus because she started telling me things that my conversations with God that nobody knew about, just me and God. And so then she's like, you need to get rid of those tarot cards. You're messing with the devil. And in my mind, I'm like, I'm not getting rid of them. I've studied these for years. It took me. I'm kind of
Yeah.
slow. And and the minute I thought that, she said, if you still need to if you still want to do readings, just use the pen and paper. So I'm like, okay. And then she goes, you can't just throw those cards out. You have to burn them. And I'm like, and I had like
Really?
10 decks of tarot cards. And then she says, and you need to get rid of those other things too. And I go, oh, my runes? And she goes, yes. And I had like crystal balls. She said, burn everything, even though crystal ball or the runes aren't going to burn, but something about the fire. I don't know. Well,
Really?
long story short, by the end of this, I felt like I was in that kitchen for 4 hours. I was bawling by this point because I knew it was like God was talking to me.
Wow.
It was crazy. So then I leave there, walk back to my car, and I am just shaking inside. I had another house I had to go clean, put all my stuff, and thank God they weren't there because I had mascara down my face. I've been bawling. And so I get there and clean, come home, and my husband was still at work. And then, but the phone rang, and I had a booth down the street at like a little peddler's mall, and where I did my readings, but there were other little shops in there. And the lady that ran the place said, you've got a lady here waiting for a read. And I'm like, oh, great Scott, because I had had a long day. I'm like, all right, grab my little bag full of my tarot cards and a pen and paper. And I drove down there. And when I got to the parking lot, I sat in there and I said, Lord, I don't know how to do a reading without tarot cards. I heard as plain as day God's voice say, you're not going to be doing it. I will. I said, okay. I grabbed my pen and paper, went in there. The lady was sitting at my booth, and she did a double take when she see me because my eyes were all swollen from crying all day.
Really?
Um, and I had a sign, and I pointed to the sign and I said, I know this says I'm a tarot reader, but I won't be reading tarot today. I'm only going to use the pen and paper. And she looked at me really funny. I sat down, gave her a reading. It was one of the best readings I had ever did in my entire life.
Really?
Oh, she was bawling by the end of it. And I was, because I was telling her what had transpired throughout my day. And she said, um, and her son, we brought her son in through the reading because he had crossed over. And she said, my son used to like go lock himself in his bedroom for hours at a time praying to God. And she said, before he died, he made me promise I wouldn't get a tarot reading. And I'm looking at her funny because it's saying I'm a tarot reader. And she says, I kept walking by here day after day. And, when she'd come in a lot, I guess, at the Peddler's Mall. And she said, I was just so compelled to get a reading from you. And that's why she looked at me funny when I said, I won't be reading tarot today. And so then that was great. I came home. My husband came home. It took me like 2 weeks before I could even talk about what happened without crying to anybody. So the very next day, it was like 98 degrees in July. We did the fire pit, my husband and I. And I don't know if you've ever tried to burn tarot cards, but they're coated in plastic. So
Oh,
I had to take like each one and rip it and throw it. It
uh,
took us
you throw
forever.
a little gas on it.
Yeah, I mean, it took all afternoon.
Really?
I took all of my notes and everything. I even went on my computer and deleted all my notes. And it felt so enlightening. And then I woke up the next morning, went to bed, and I woke up and it was like I was like, what did I just do? Because I had
Yeah.
used them so long. Um, but from that point on, I have never used tarot cards. And my
Really?
readings, they really catapulted because for me, the tarot card limited my readings. And this way, it
Really?
just, yeah, it just really opened up. And this had happened, oh my God, 15, 16 years ago. And I remember it like it was yesterday. It was, it was life changing. And
Yeah.
the funny
Wow.
thing is, that Monday, I went to that house to clean it, and nobody was there. And I called that
Really?
lady, and she never answered. And I thought, this did I just make all of this
You
up?
just
It's just like,
broke into a vacant house.
yeah. And I was starting to freak out, but somebody did live there because I checked with the neighbor, the house I had come out of. So there was somebody there. It wasn't like that movie, The Shack, or
Yeah.
that book, The Shack. But I never did clean that house.
Really?
They never
Wow.
had me clean it.
Well,
So
that's wild.
that was
And
that
they're
was
just like cards, paper. Why
yeah.
would they? Maybe I know a lot of people use those things and don't have any problems, like Ouija boards. A
Oh,
lot of people use Ouija boards; they don't really have the problem, but you, for some reason, God didn't want you using them.
no, and I tell you what, I would highly recommend that nobody uses a Ouija board
Really?
ever. Oh, you're messing with things you shouldn't be messing with. When I first met my husband, and we were dating for a couple of months, we did a Ouija board. And this again was, gosh, 30 years ago.
Yeah.
We sat on our knees and facing each other, and we would ask it questions. And it said that we would be married, and that we would have a son in like a year. Every single thing it said, it was spot on. But it started moving by itself, and not like, oh, you're doing this. No, I wasn't even touching it, and neither was Dave. It started
Really?
going back and forth by itself. And I am
Wow.
not kidding. It scared. And after that, we had so many bad things happen. He lost his job. We had a series of bad events. He took that. And at that point, and again, this was 30 years ago, I had tarot cards. He took all of it and marched it down to the dumpster and threw it in there. Even to
Really?
this day, you mention a Ouija board, and Dave, he freaks out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. That's
Yeah. So,
it's crazy. Things
mhm,
can manifest themselves on a group of cards or a board. Um, it's
yeah,
it's crazy. All right. Well, that's the story.
that
Uh,
is this is the story.
so maybe your psychic experience got enhanced a little bit through your throwing away of those tarot cards.
It definitely did. It catapulted and
All right.
made my reads a lot better.
All right. Well, that'll do it for this time. Appreciate the experience. Thanks everybody for tuning in. Hope you enjoyed the show. If you have any questions or ideas for additional shows, put a comment down there in the comment section. We'll try to get to it. Otherwise, like, subscribe, click the alert buttons. We'll get you alerted every time there's a new video out there. Other than that, thanks a lot, everybody. We'll talk to you next time.
Okay, bye everybody.